Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Wisdom Wednesday. I'm Dr. Susanna Alter.
And I'm Dr. Benjamin Alter.
And we're both naturopathic doctors who support individuals in reversing disease and reclaiming optimal health through whole food, plant-based nutrition and mind-body medicine.
Welcome to another Wisdom Wednesday. We always love tuning in and sharing insights and having these conversations about the nature of our minds and thought and consciousness and really what's leading to this human experience that, let's face it, can tend to be quite crazy, but it's all about not controlling it because, oh boy, nothing's really in our control except for how we are. So understanding and riding the waves, that's what it's all about. And just before we dive into our conversation on fear, just a little plug for Peace on Earth. If you're into these wisdom conversations and want to share yours and have deeper conversations on an ongoing basis, we invite you to join Peace on Earth, which is a weekly program or a monthly program with weekly conversations where we can come together and share our insights and kind of create peace on earth by starting where we have our ultimate control, the only control, again, in our own moment-to-moment human experience.
Yes.
So for more information, www.alter.health/peace on earth.
Yeah. And I just want to point out that you can join on a sliding scale because we do not want finances to keep you from these conversations if you feel inspired to join them.
But we do ask that you invest in, it's just kind of like an energy thing. So cool. Dr. Susanna, you picked the topic of fear. So what are you afraid of?
Well, recently I had an experience with fear, and I just thought I would share it and see where the conversation goes. So last weekend, Ben suggested that we go ride these awesome mountain biking trails up valley in Snowmass. And, it's interesting because when he brought that up, all of a sudden this fear bubbled up in me.
She's afraid of mountain bikes?
What is she afraid of? What is she afraid of?
She's afraid of mountain lions?
Just a little backstory. It could be fear about anything, right? But just a little backstory. Around this time last year, I went mountain biking on these same trails by myself. And I actually had a negative encounter on the trail with another mountain biker.
Better than a mountain lion.
Better than a mountain lion, yes, for sure. But it was one of those encounters where after it happened, I just was overthinking it so much. I felt guilty. I felt like I was in the wrong, like I wasn't being a mindful mountain biker. No one got injured or no one got hurt or anything, but it just wasn't a pleasant interaction. And I felt really bad. And ever since that interaction, I've had this block, this fear of going back to those trails, because what if I ran into that same person?
Then they would definitely single you out and say, "Hey, you little girl, get out of here." And they'd chase you and stalk you and probably hire a hitman to come to our house and kill you while you sleep.
But it's just so crazy. It's just so crazy how this one event happened last year. And my thoughts about that event brought up so many emotions that actually kept me from going back to those trails for an entire year.
And not only that, when I said, "Hey, Susanna, should we, I was thinking of going to Snowmass. Like, do you want to come along?" She wanted to wear my mountain bike helmet so that somehow this person who may or may not even exist wouldn't be able to identify her, because I'm sure he remembered the color of your mountain bike helmet. But
it's just crazy how
can I share my experience? So when I heard that from Susanna, that she wanted to wear my mountain bike helmet so that she would avoid being spotted on the trails, it hit me that, holy cow, Susanna is in crazy town. She is having crazy thoughts, like out of this world, like so unreasonably crazy, irrationally crazy. And it's easy to see that from where I stand looking at Susanna, but I'm not immune to crazy thoughts, and neither are any of us. So it's just kind of a wake up opportunity to think about the crazy irrational thoughts that are keeping us small, little, insecure, just not like quite totally in full bloom moment to moment. That's not to say that we need to be in our optimal, open, courageous, enlightened state at all times, but it helps to kind of have that insight into where are our limiting beliefs, what's holding us back.
Right. Yeah. What's holding us back from living life to the fullest? For me, I kept myself from riding these amazing trails for an entire year.
I didn't even know that. I thought,
Oh,
I mean, I knew
yeah.
that it was an impactful experience for you, but I didn't know that you were like not going back there because of it.
Yes. And it's
Yeah.
just because of all of the stories my mind came up with. Well, he must think this about me and this, blah, 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 blah. And we all know that experience of going down these rabbit holes of thought. And some of those rabbit holes, it's like, gosh, they're so seductive, and they really catch us, you know? It's like we can't see what's reality from what's not. And I really, now because I faced my fears, I can really see that, oh my gosh, I was giving into some really silly thoughts. I thought those thoughts to be true. And sometimes we're even in a place where we're like, all right, I know this is silly, but I'm still kind of afraid. And that's kind of where I was at Saturday, which is why I was like, okay, we're going.
Once you're in that place of recognizing the silliness of your own story, then you're on your way of unraveling the whole shebang.
Yes.
The house of cards is on its way down. And once again, the crazy cool thing to consider for us all is just how everything that we tell ourselves is built on a flimsy house of cards that can be destroyed in an instant of insight. And that's a good thing. That's a really empowering thing, because what that means for me is that in any moment, there are infinite possibilities. And that's the truth. So what is fear, and what is conquering fears or overcoming fears? To me, it's just recognizing the absurdity of limiting thinking and really seeing the truth, which is I'm a divine being. I have this human experience, and I am not controlled by it. I am co-creating and living in it. And that doesn't mean that I can't be afraid, because I think that there's, I don't know, when the topic of fear comes up, I think it's common to think like, okay, what are your fears? Like, are you afraid of the dark? Are you afraid of mountain lions? Are you afraid of heights? And it's like, I don't know. Is that wrong to be afraid? And I don't think the point of life is to not be afraid, but it's to recognize where the fear is coming from and being able to navigate and live in life amidst that feeling, not being overwhelmed, overcome by it, but recognizing that it's kind of like just kind of the silly thing, just like the silly thought of, oh, it would be nice if it rained today. It's the same content, it's a different content, but the same stuff.
Yeah.
Just thinking.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting on this topic of fear, how sometimes in these conversations about fear, people might say, well, but isn't fear there for a reason? Isn't it there to keep us safe from harm's way? And well, my response to that would be, yeah, our body's got this awesome alarm system, this fight or flight response where, for example, if we're chased by a mountain lion, it's like, all right, we've got all of our fuel.
The next day I was riding on another trail, and there was a bear he was as big as me, standing in the dirt road, just, and boy, did I feel that.
But I mean, what's really kind of cool about those situations is that we show up. We're in the present moment. When you're facing the bear, it's not like you're thinking about, oh, I'm so afraid.
No,
You're responding. You're in life, right?
Actually, my first response was, cool, I'm gonna take a photo. And I got off my bike for a second, put my hand in my pocket, and I was like, no.
All right, there's some common sense.
Exactly. Like the common sense has a way of piercing through and guiding us.
Yeah, but what's interesting is like you could take that experience and then have all these thoughts in retrospect, like, oh, well, gosh, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to go back to that trail because I might see a bear. And you know, like, that's where the more long-term fear, limiting fear, can really start controlling us and our actions in life.
Well, it's like the fine line, or maybe it's not that fine of a line, between feeling afraid and being fearful, you know, like, or, you know, having the experience of fear, which is as normal and natural and healthy as any experience, whether it's joy or grief or anything, versus the dwelling in fear when there's nothing to be afraid of in this moment. So like when you were getting ready to go on your mountain bike and we're going up to Snowmass, it's completely irrational to be afraid when you're packing up your stuff. But yeah, if you encounter that person, sure, you're probably going to have an experience that might resemble fear or insecurity or, oh my gosh, what is he? Does he see me? You know, and that's totally okay and healthy and natural. There's nothing wrong with that. But we want to have our human experience in a way that's fluid and graceful, not in a way that's getting stuck and clunky, so that we're reliving and re-traumatizing and dragging ourselves through piles and piles of crap that doesn't even exist just because we're caught up in our thinking innocently.
Yeah, so let me tell you what happened.
Okay.
So we were packing up, we were driving to Snowmass, and honestly, I felt a little bit like butterflies in my stomach because I had this anticipation. But what's amazing is literally the minute I got on my bike and started pedaling, all that feeling was gone. All those feelings were gone. And I felt safe. It's not like I felt vulnerable on those trails. I felt like, oh my gosh, what if I did, by crazy chance, run into the same person again? So what? I have what I need to handle whatever that situation would bring. We always have what we need to handle the situations that we are confronted with.
Well, for about a year, you know, from the initial instance, you know, I didn't know that this was going on in Susanna's reality for the last year, but for a couple of months, you know, it's like, okay, snap out of it, get out of it, really let it go, right? You know, have you ever been told that by another person? Just let it go, just snap out of it, just drop it. Well, turns out it doesn't work that well to be told to do that, but it turns out that 100% of the time, we do snap out of it, we do drop it, we do have an insight, we do let stuff go when it's time to do so, you know? And so I'm glad that time has come.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, totally. And, you know, I really saw how, you know, in those first few minutes of riding my bike, I saw, wow, that whole fearful experience that I had, all those feelings I had were there. It was just so clear to me in that moment. It was only coming from my thinking. It was only coming from my thinking. It wasn't coming from what happened last year.
Totally. So I guess moral of the story is that, I don't know, what is the moral story? Like, fear is okay. And boy, but you know, how much do we want to drag ourselves through unnecessary suffering? Let yourself be afraid when there's something to be afraid of. but and 100% of the time, at least in my experience, and I'm curious if anyone has not experienced this, but 100% of the time, I think, maybe it's 99.9, you let me know, but you rise to the occasion and you get what you need to get done when you're faced with the fear, right? There's no amount of preparedness or practices or meditations or visualizations that you can do to prepare you to conquer a fear. It's just being in the moment, and then you got it. Just like I had the insight of put rather than taking it to the bear, I was going to be like, hey. So
Probably not.
I don't know.
It was a nice black bear, right? Just minding its own business.
I don't have a lot of experience with bears, so he was about my size. That's all I know. Which I think is about kind of like an average teenager. I don't know. Adolescent. Anywho, that's the moral of the story, and we're sticking with it. And or that's our story, and we're sticking with it. And just a reminder, if you want to continue these wisdom conversations off of the Wisdom Wednesday, jump into Peace on Earth. We love our Peace on Earth community. And to learn more, you can go to alter.health/peace on earth. And other than that, we just wish you a happy, peaceful, nourishing rest of your day, rest of your week. Thanks for dropping in.
Bye for now.